hope you're really well. This week's musing topic is on what is ego and how to detach from it. Now, before I even start on this topic, I want to make my position on this really, really clear. The area of ego, let's just say, is such a massive topic, and I kind of wonder whether I'm a little bit crazy trying to talk about it in a short video. But do you know what? I'm just going to give a brief idea of like what I see as ego and how to detach from it. First of all, my position is that not all ego is bad. Now, I think most metaphysical type people would agree with me, but then they continue to talk about the ego this, the ego that, and it all sounds really negative. I tend to call it the dysfunctional ego and the ego, and the functional ego, sorry. And I try to be quite clear. Say if I'm doing card readings or if I'm giving someone some help or if I'm talking to people, that I see the difference between dysfunctional ego and functional ego. The concept of ego basically is to see yourself as a separate entity, to see yourself as separated from other things. Now the reality is, like we're in a body, and that in terms of our everyday life, we are separate. We are in a separate body. On a level, as metaphysical type of people, that have metaphysical kind of understandings and whatever, we understand that we're all one. But actually, when it comes to going about our everyday lives, we do kind of need to understand that we're separate in order to see to our own needs, make sure that other people don't take advantage of us, etc. And I think that that's a real key thing. I think it's really key to understand. Functional ego means that we remember and we know to take care of ourselves, to not walk out in front of a car, that we know our boundaries, that we don't allow people to take advantage of us, that we don't just give without any concept of self or what the self needs. So I do think it's really important that we understand the difference between functional ego, which is healthy and balanced and has an awareness that we are in part a separate being and that we have separate needs. We have our own needs. We also have our own unique light. Yes, we're all of the whole. We're part of the whole. But we also have our own unique perspective. So this is part of a functional egoic understanding. I am separate in that I've got my own light to shine, my own version of the light. It's maybe not my light, it's part of all that is, but it's my perspective. It's me as this individual's perspective, me as this individual's needs, me as this individual's way of going about in the world. The dysfunctional ego sees yourself as entirely separate. It doesn't understand the concept of being part of the whole. It feels detached from God, from others, from the world. It feels like life has a sense of meaninglessness. We're overly attached. If we're in dysfunctional ego, we're overly attached to the world because we don't think there's anything beyond it. And we think that this vessel that we're in, this body, is everything. Essentially, we feel like we're lacking and we're always needing to satiate and to feed the dysfunctional ego. The dysfunctional ego, I would say, can be characterized quite simply as a constant and persistent sense of needing something we don't already have. So how are we going to detach from it? Well, the first step is obvious. Someone who is deeply, deeply attached dysfunctionally to their ego has no concept of anything other than the idea that they are it entirely. They don't have any concept of what we've just talked about. So essentially, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you knew that already, but if you didn't, there's the first step, is knowing, hang on, I'm part of this whole. And knowing that, oh, hang on, the way I'm feeling is my dysfunctional ego coming out. Just being aware that it's your dysfunctional ego is your first step towards stopping it and detaching from it. The second point is so crucial. People come to me all the time asking about, how can I help myself in this circumstance and this situation and with this person or with this problem? The reality is that the key to detaching from the dysfunctional ego is to know and to believe and to really be completely understanding of the fact that absolutely nothing in your life has to change whatsoever for you to be at peace and in joy now. Nothing. And if you still believe that you need something to feel okay, then you are still in a sense, you are still attached to the dysfunctional ego. Nothing needs to change. You can be detached from the dysfunctional ego and at peace now. Is it easy? No. It's simple. Is it easy to execute and do? No, it's not. For some people, it's not. Well, for all of us, it's not. But it depends on your level of awareness, and it depends on how much you've practiced it. You know, if you practiced a lot, you think, oh yes, I've been in this situation before. I can do something about this. We all do it. We all get dragged into it at times. I would say, I don't know, but I would guess even the most balanced of people get drawn into it. I certainly do, and I'm not saying I'm the most balanced of people, but you know, I get drawn in. But it's knowing that, hang on, this circumstance that's going on here has got nothing to do with whether or not I feel happy and peaceful, because all of that is to do with my relationship with myself. Okay, so it doesn't mean that I'm not going to sometimes make a mistake you know, buy into the illusion and think, oh, because he said this to me or because she did that to me, I'm unhappy. When I think that something needs to stop or someone needs to be different or I need something different, this is the dysfunctional ego, and it gives us this illusion. And the thing is, it's like a snowball effect, car rolling down a hill effect. The more you believe it, the more you get on board with it, the bigger and bigger it gets, or the faster and faster it gets. So do be aware of that, and the more momentum that gets going, the harder it is to stop. Another way to detach from it, when you're in that situation or circumstance, is to come back into this quiet space inside and know that this is love, and come back into that unconditionally loving place, and go there knowing that this circumstance that you're in that's pulling you, you know, this dysfunctional ego that's pulling you, is nearly always a thought. It's a thought that we're having, a judgment, a belief about an event. And it's not happening right this second because you're thinking about what to do about it. So it's either going to happen in the future or happened in the past. So come back to now and get into that space, get into that unconditionally loving space. If you can just remind yourself, this isn't real, this isn't really happening. I mean, it is in a way. But you know what I mean? Like, remind yourself of the ultimate reality, which is the love, which is the space, and reattach to that. Another really big point is Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is. I can highly recommend. You know, it's just a fantastic book, and I'm sure an awful lot of you watching will have already read it. But there is a need to accept what is. You know, that the circumstances around you, you can't control. You know, and we can be pissed about that and upset about that all day long, but it's not going to change the fact that it's not going to change what is. You know, so we may have someone in our life that's really destructive, or we might have a circumstance that's really bad, but do you know what? Trying to push against it and hope that it isn't there, and this insatiable need that comes up, this anger and fear from the inside that wants to change this situation and is so angry with this situation, this is just the dysfunctional ego. Because actually we can go to this space inside, and we need to, if we're going to detach from this this dysfunction of the ego that says that this circumstance has to change before I can feel okay. And that's what the dysfunctional ego will continue to tell you. I cannot be okay while this is the case. I cannot be okay while that's the case. You know, and you'll never be at peace if you continue to listen to the dysfunctional ego. I mean, the point that follows on from that is kind of obvious. You've got to be disciplined. You know, and I think this is something that is not always kind of, I don't know, when I started on this like awakening journey, it wasn't kind of always that obvious to me, like that need for discipline. I kind of always thought that it would kind of be like fluffy and pink, you know, and that like it would be easy, but actually it's not always. And you do need to be disciplined with yourself, because the dysfunctional, I think it's kind of like the dysfunctional ego doesn't go away. It's just you don't attach to it so much, you don't listen to it so much. Does it mean that a really, really balanced and spiritual person doesn't have the dysfunctional ego constantly? I think they probably do. I've noticed that with me, as I've awakened more and more, it's still there, but because I don't believe it as much, because I'm not buying into it as often, its voice is different, let's just say. But it's still there, and there's still the option. Yeah, I love this one. I cannot even tell you how many times people I'm helping or clients have come to me and said, yeah, well, I do want to do that, but it's not the right time for me. I need more time. I'm guessing I just need more time to detach from my ego. No, you don't need more time. The time is now, because it's a decision. It's not difficult. Well, it is difficult, but it's not complicated. It's a decision, to stop believing it. You can change like that and just stop believing it. Does it take a lot of work? No. It takes one decision. I'm not believing it. Is it difficult to do? Yes. Does it take discipline? Yes. Does it take sacrifice? Yes. Because there's something kind of really, dysfunctional but satisfying about following the ego. And I don't think people always talk about this as much as they should. Because it was kind of like, for me, I was like, oh yeah. It's like an addiction. Like I used to smoke, and following the dysfunctional ego is like the feeling you get when you want a cigarette, when you want a drink, when you want a cake, if you're an eating person, or like for me it's chocolate. Everything will be all right when. And that buzz that you get from following the dysfunctional ego, and it does give you a buzz, and you have to stop following it. So it's like getting high, or getting a kick, getting an adrenaline rush. You have to stop following it. And a lot of people just can't cut themselves off from that. They just can't, because they enjoy it. It gives them a thrill. It's like, yes. So you have to, I think you have to be honest with yourself. That a lot of the time, if we are stuck in dysfunctional ego and we're following it, it's because it gives us a kick. There's something. So it's often helpful as well. This isn't for this video, but do look underneath. What is that sort of pattern? If you are constantly repeating something, like an obvious one is if you keep going back to a partner that treats you really badly. It's giving you a kick, it's satisfying something. Go underneath and look what it is. Okay? But anyway, that's for a different video. But the point is that voice that says it's not easy, it takes ages, it's really hard, is the dysfunctional ego. It is. But if you cannot believe it, even though at first it won't feel that different, believing it and not believing it won't make a massive difference, because the dysfunctional ego has still got you in its grip. But if you don't believe it and you start to gradually work back towards your core, back towards your centered space, you're going to find a massive improvement ultimately. But you've got to be disciplined. It's like being 10 stone overweight, going to the gym once and expecting things to have changed. It's not going to be, is it? It's going to take days and weeks. The change can be quick. Yeah? Because that sounds like I'm contradicting myself. The change, the decision can be quick. But the point is, you've set in motion lots of habits, thought patterns, behaviours, subconscious thought patterns and behaviours. So you'll still get that feeling, when that person calls, you'll still get that excitement. You'll say, yeah, my heart feels it's right for me. No, it's not your heart that feels it's right for you. It's the dysfunctional ego trying to get high. Oh yeah. Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body, Loads of people call it different things, but just watch out for that. Yeah, the detachment from it can happen straight away, but it may take some time for those habits, etc., to like dissipate. So just be aware of that. Freya, I've just had to stop the camera a minute ago because Freya is, first of all, has got something stuck to her face, is barking crazily at somebody outside. Someone just brought a parcel to the door, so I had to pause the video to go and get it. And now she sees some people outside and she won't stop barking. So the thing that is going to detach you from the dysfunctional ego more than anything is just to know that you have everything you need now to be peaceful. That is the most helpful thing that I've ever been told in terms of detaching from the dysfunctional ego, because it completely shows the dysfunctional ego up for the liar that it is, you know. It totally changes the way you see things, because when you sit quietly and say, I have everything I need now, you can then see all of this, but I need this, but I need that, and you can see where the dysfunctional ego is, because it's got its claws in all these different things, and you can say, no, this is the dysfunctional ego, no, this is the dysfunctional ego, you know. So it's very helpful that you have everything you need right now. It doesn't mean that you can't move towards things, that you don't progress, that you don't grow. You know, as a whole, you are perfect. You have shadow aspects, you have light aspects, you have things that might develop and change, you have things that maybe need to be healed, but that's all irrelevant. You are pure light at your core, and you are perfect and acceptable and lovable, etc., as you are, and you have you, and that is all you need at this core, you know. Obviously, the functional ego has needs, you know, we need to stay alive, we need to look after our bodies, etc., but you get the point I'm trying to make here. That sense that I always need something outside of me to make me feel okay, to be okay in the world. And actually, other than our basic needs, that isn't true. And understanding that is, I think, one of the most important parts of how to detach from the dysfunctional ego. Guys, I hope you have a brilliant week, and I'll see you same time next week. Mwah!